you can possibly do.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. There's a few more still coming on here, but we'll get started. I think we are at 7 p.m. Yes, we are on the dot. So,
Okay.
yeah, we'll get started. My name is Leah Holt. I am a travel agent with Go Travel here in Edson, Alberta, and I've been a travel agent for 5 years. Lately, we've been doing some travel talks every Tuesday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And tonight, we are excited to have Olga with us from the American Queen Steamboat Company. She is joining us from Toronto. And I just love the idea of cruising down the Mississippi on one of your boats. It would just be it's on my bucket list anyways.
It's very nostalgic, so
yes, I can only imagine. So we are going to hand it over to her, but for just before we get started, for the best viewing options, I think the thing to do is I guess for you guys is to go up into your top right hand corner and click on speaker view. That way, then you will only see Olga and you won't be distracted by anyone else. So you'll get a bigger picture of her on your screen.
Not really.
And she is, we can't let her fall asleep tonight. She's a little later than us, but I know she has lots to tell us. So take it away, Olga.
Okay. Good evening, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for our travel talk about cruising close to home on the American rivers with American Queen Steamboat Company. We are owned by Hornblower Holdings. Many of you have probably heard about our parent company. We operate Alcatraz Cruises, Niagara Cruises, Statue of Liberty Cruises. And in 2012, the company purchased the American Queen Steamboat Company, and we got into the overnight cruising business. We call ourselves uniquely American. What that means is we have boats that are built in the United States that are US flag, and they have all American crew on board. So all of our crews are full-time employees of the company. We have 4 authentic paddle wheel boats that sail on both the Mississippi River as well as out west on the Snake and Columbia River. And we started the company with the American Queen. She's the one in the top left-hand corner, and she joined in 2012. And this year, it's gonna be her 25th anniversary. Then came the American Empress in 2014. In 2017, we added the American Duchess. And this year, our baby's coming out, the American Countess. She was supposed to launch on April 1st. So because of COVID, we are a little delayed, and she'll be sailing as of August the 8th. Your typical voyage inclusions on every cruise you purchase would be your pre-cruise hotel night in your port of embarkation, and that includes a breakfast in the morning, your transfers to the ship, as well as luggage transfer from the hotel to the ship, so you don't have to worry about it. We have a hospitality desk at the hotel, and you can check in for your cruise right there at the hotel, no lineup necessary. And that makes the embarkation the next day very easy. You just walk onto the ship, you already have a key to your cabin, and you just go and start your vacation right away. No long lineup, no forms to fill, no credit card slips to sign, all taken care of at the hotel. We offer regional inspired dining. What that means that on top of the staples like the steak and the chicken and pork and lamb that's on the menu all the time, we have regional cuisine available. So if we are in the south on the Mississippi, you will have Creole and Cajun dining options. When we are out west, in the Pacific coast, you will have more of a crab or salmon, seafood that would be as an option available to you. We cater to special dietary menus. So if we have any vegetarian, vegan, or gluten-free diet requests, we can accommodate them. We have alternative dining venues available. So not only the main dining room, but also another venue, at least one or two, where you can have dinner at no extra charge, just for a change of scenery and different menu. And we also offer a 24-hour room service on all of our vessels in all stateroom categories. Your typical beverage inclusions would be your tea, coffee, water, sparkling water, juices, and wine and beer with dinner. That's a standard inclusion. And on the Duchess this year in 2020, she's all inclusive, all beverages, so all alcohol, spirits, cocktails, mocktails, well drinks, that would be included as well. On the other vessels, or in 2021, when we sail again with the basic package, you can upgrade your wine and beer at dinner time to an unlimited beverage package throughout the day. And that costs $399 per stateroom. So $200 per person for a week, flat rate, no additional surcharges, no additional gratuities, nothing else added. Flat fee of $399 for two, and you are all set with all of your drinks for the rest of the week. In order to cut down on plastic bottled waters used on board, we have introduced these reusable water bottles that each guest receives on board. So when you walk into your stateroom, you will have a couple of these brand new bottles. And we have these hydration stations that you can refill your water bottle at any point. And then you can take it with you on a shore excursion, or you can, and of course, at the end of the cruise, this is a great souvenir to take home with you and as a memory keepsake from your trip. We have Broadway caliber style entertainment on board. A lot of our performers actually come from Broadway. So the quality of the entertainment is quite good. And these are nightly shows after dinner time. And we also have a quite enhanced enrichment program on board. We have resident historians that sail with us on every single cruise, and they know just about everything there is to know about the river, about the area you're sailing through, the history, the flora, the fauna. They can answer any questions you may have, and they have daily lectures and port talks to give you answers to just about anything you can ask. We also have guest speakers on board. So someone like the Mark Twain impersonator or the local tribal chiefs from out west talk about their experiences and their culture. All your cruise fare also includes guided shore excursions. Now these are done in a hop-on, hop-off style, and these motor coaches travel along with the boats. So every day you will see the same motor coaches and the same drivers who are super friendly, super helpful, and they'll make it more fun. In each port of call, we have local guides that get on the motor coach, and then they provide all the commentary and information about all the sites that you will see that day. These operate from the boat throughout all day in half-an-hour intervals. And the night before, you receive in your stateroom a map that looks like this, and it shows you exactly how many stops, how many attractions, how many admission fees have already been prepaid for you, how much time you should allocate to each stop, and what's there to see. And then, as you can see, some of the stops are close by. You can walk from one or the other. You don't have to wait for the motor coach. But if you want to take the motor coach, it doesn't take more than 15, 20-minute wait time, and off you go again. On top of the included shore excursions, we also had some premium shore experiences. And this could be a round of golf, or a visit to a museum, cooking classes, or visit to the battlefields. Something that you can pre-book up to 6 months prior to your trip. But the good thing is you can cancel them with no penalty up to 36 hours prior to the shore excursion. So if you get on board and you find out throughout the port talk, or you meet somebody and they suggest that you do something else, or you join them on something, on another shore excursion, and you want to change it, or you want to change the time or the day, Very easily done, up to 36 hours prior, you can cancel and rebook something else. We also have complimentary Wi-Fi on, and that's on board of the boats as well as on the motor coaches. So you can not only post to your social media all your pictures from the places you've seen, you can stay connected with your family. We also have chargers, so if your phone needs recharging while you're doing your shore excursion, all available on the motor coach. Now we have two main destinations on the American rivers. We have the Pacific Northwest and the America's Heartland. So starting with the Pacific Northwest, this is very picturesque, very outdoorsy. It's just a beautiful area in the United States, and it just explores the great outdoors along with the history along the way. So what we do is we sail on the Columbia and Snake rivers between Clarkston and Vancouver, Washington. You can go in either direction, and we are kind of recreating the 1805 voyage of Lewis and Clark. So it's not only full of dramatic scenery, but also important historical and cultural influences along the way. Now, the itinerary is identical in either direction. The only difference is where you want to spend your hotel night. So if you fly into Spokane, you take a transfer to Clarkston, you board the vessel in Clarkston and you sail into Vancouver, and you have your hotel night in Spokane. We use the historic Davenport Hotel in Spokane. If you want to go the other way, from Vancouver to Clarkston, you fly into Portland. The transfer from Portland to Vancouver takes maybe 15-20 minutes, not too long, and you stay in a Hilton in Vancouver. And then everything else in between those two ports is identical. So starting in Vancouver, Washington, it used to be a center of the fur trade industry. So for us Canadians, it's a link to the Hudson's Bay Company. And that's quite interesting to find, to go through the museums there and local places and hear all that information. It is also a great place of a great military significance. So military museums, we get to visit a Fort of Vancouver, and as well as the Marshall House. Now the Marshall House, General Marshall was hosting the aviators, the first aviators that flew from Moscow in Russia to United States via North Pole non-stop. So in 1936, these aviators were staying at this house in Vancouver, Washington, and it's now a museum. And you can, if you're into aviation and into these first flights, this is a great place because all of the information about that voyage, about that trip, included in the museum. Now we also have a Pearson Air Museum in Vancouver, and you can do an optional trek to Mount St. Helens. Now Mount St. Helens is an active stratovolcano, and it's part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. And the most catastrophic explosion that has been recorded in history was in 1980, so fairly recent. And you can, on this excursion, you can learn all about it. You can visit the site, you can visit the museum and learn all about the events that took place before and after the explosion. Our very first stop on the itinerary after we leave Vancouver is Astoria. And that's the oldest American settlement west of the Rocky Mountains. You get to see the Heritage Museum, the Maritime Museum. We have the Riverwalk with shops and boutiques. And there's this cool Astoria column, which depicts the early settlers. So you can see the engravings on the column. The column sits 600 feet above sea level. You get to visit, you don't have to climb up there, you get to visit it on your hop-on, hop-off shore excursion. And it was donated to Astoria by the Astor family in 1926. For the more adventurous travelers, we also offer zip line and kayak adventures. And we stopped at Fort Clatsop as well. Now, Fort Clatsop was the starting point for Lewis and Clark to go from the river to the Pacific Ocean. And they spent about 10 days at Fort Clatsop getting ready for this trek. And that is now a museum. And of course, again, all the records of this journey will be available for viewing at that fort. Now, our next stop is Stevenson. It's in Washington as well, and it's on the Washington side of the Columbia River Gorge. So an absolutely beautiful area to visit. There is an interpretive center that you get to visit, as well as the Bonneville Dam. Now, the Bonneville Dam excursion is really cool because they've got these underwater rooms with fish ladders. And if you're into, so obviously the dam has prevented the fish to travel upriver to spawn. So they've created these fish ladders for the mostly salmon to get upriver, to get to their breeding grounds. And they built these rooms underwater so you can actually watch the ladders and the fish as they swim over. It is super cool. Another option you can do is the Multnomah Falls trip. Multnomah Falls is the Oregon's highest waterfall. There's also a Vista House with beautiful views. It stands 611 feet tall. And again, absolutely breathtaking scenery there. Then we go to the Dalles. Now the Dalles, it's actually French word for rapids, and it again has a Canadian connection. The French-Canadian trappers back in the days have named Dalles with the French word Dalles. And it's kind of a jumping off spot for the pioneers, the soldiers, the gold miners back in the mid-1800s. The Fort Dalles was established in 1850, and we get to visit the fort. There's also a discovery center and museum. And for those interested, we have a national neon museum in Dalles. But the coolest thing about Dalles is WAM Museum. It's the Western Antique Airplane and Automobile Museum. It's 250 acres of, it's the biggest in the world, biggest collection in the world of automobiles and airplanes. And it's privately owned, and it's a site to visit. Really, if you have any fans in the family, or if you yourself are interested in automobiles and airplanes, this is great. They even have a racetrack and get you take out a Ford from 1914 around the track. Very cool. Another nice experience is the locks at the Dalles Dam. This is actually the ship you would be sailing on, the American Empress, as she goes through the locks. So that's a good experience. And then we sail through the Columbia River Gorge. And as you can see, absolutely breathtaking scenery. I think this is the nicest place in North America. Honestly, absolutely breathtaking. And we arrived in Richland, Washington, and it's kind of near the confluence of the Yakima and the Columbia River. So a lot of maritime, a lot of trading, this was a busy place for trades back in the 18 and 1900s. And this is the northernmost place that Lewis and Clark reached on their journey. And there's a Reach Museum, and for those who are not into museum and they would prefer something a little bit more fun and active, they can go on the wine and spirit tour of the Red Mountain and hit a few wineries and do some wine tasting and have a dinner at the winery. We also have an exclusive experience of the Hanford B reactor tour. Now this was set up by the military in the late 1930s, early 1940s. This is an exclusive to American Queen's Steamboat Company. And this is where they made the plutonium for the Fat Boy bombs that were used in the World War II, as well as the bombs that were created for the Cold War afterwards of the 50s and 60s. We also have a kayak adventure if anybody wants to get up on the water. And then we arrive in Clarkston, Washington, which is our embarkation and disembarkation port. We spend a full day in Clarkston before you disembark the following day. So you have plenty of opportunities to explore the area. It's a gateway to North America's deepest gorge called the Hell's Canyon. And for those more adventurous, we have these jet boats that go on the Hell's Canyon and on the river, and it's a thrilling ride. So you can do that. And of course, many museums and shops and places to enjoy. And if you're going in this direction, you're flying out of Spokane. Spokane is the hometown of Bing Crosby. So before you head to the airport, you can always visit his childhood home and a museum, or you can extend your stay in Spokane and get an additional hotel night and do a lot of local sightseeing. Again, very scenic, very tourist-friendly town, and lovely to visit. Now, the vessel that will take you on this voyage is called the American Empress. She carries 221 guests, so she's kind of our middle-sized vessel in 112 staterooms. And all of her accommodation is Riverview. So no inside staterooms, everybody will have a nice window or veranda view. Just to give you an idea of what the interior looks like. Now, the vessel is styled kind of in a gold rush era design. So you will see a lot of gold and brown and burgundy colors around. She's filled with vast collection of art and artifacts of native Alaska, Russia, as well as the gold rush era. This is the Astoria dining room. We do offer early and late dining at 5:30 and 7:40. You do have assigned time when you have to be in the dining room, but you do not have to sit at a specific table. So if you meet somebody along that day on a shore excursion and you want to have a dinner together, perfectly fine. Just come in and you pick a table you want to sit at and have a beautiful dinner. This is our alternative dining venue. So for breakfast, lunch, or reservation only at dinner time, we have indoor and outdoor seating depending on the weather. This is what the show lounge looks like. So as you can see, very Americana, very Alaska kind of gold rush era. This is the bar, paddle wheel lounge. You can actually see, if you look at the picture on the right-hand top corner, through those beautiful windows, you can see the paddle wheel at the back. Now, all of our vessels, the paddle wheels really do operate and propel us forward. This is not just for show. So if you don't like, and of course, in the area where the paddle wheel is and operates, there's a slight vibration. So if this is something that would possibly bother you on your cruise, you need to make sure that you are booked in a stateroom or suite away from the paddle wheel. We have this onboard art gallery. So as I mentioned, the ship has a vast collection of art. And as you're walking through the hallways, you can see these pictures. And each of the stateroom and suites, we have a book. And each of these pictures or pieces of art have a number. So you walk through the hallway on your way to dinner or on your way for a drink, and you see something that you don't know what it is. You remember the number, you look in the book in your stateroom at what it is, and it gives you a description. It's pretty cool. It's kind of a walking gallery. Anywhere you turn on the ship, you will see something interesting. And plenty of outdoor deck space. And this is just to show you some of our accommodation. So this is our luxury suite with private veranda, and it will take double or a triple occupancy for those who want to have a family or friend traveling with them. This is a superior veranda stateroom. As you can see, the accommodation quite often has access from the outside deck. So you're not entering into your home from the inside, you're going from the outside deck. And that's why the door you can see there on your left-hand side. This is our deluxe stateroom with veranda, category C. Now, this is the most common category accommodation on the ship, on this particular ship. Category Cs, we have the most of them. It's also an SO category. When you see the S, whether it's in front of any category, that means it's a single occupancy. And the price that you see is already calculated for single occupancy, so there's no additional supplement. It already is a single occupancy price. Now, from the West, we go to America's Heartland. Now, America's Heartland, that's pretty much the Midwest. Those are the states that don't really touch any oceans. And we have multiple itineraries available throughout the Heartland. So the very first and the most common one is our lower Mississippi. Then we offer the upper Mississippi, and then we have the tributaries. And those are your Ohio, Tennessee, and Cumberland rivers. And I will give you a little bit on each of those. So your lower Mississippi is gonna run between Memphis and New Orleans, either direction. Now, the itinerary is pretty much the same. However, I need to tell you a little tip. If you like the slower days on board and you enjoy sitting with your book and watching the river flow by, I would suggest you start in New Orleans and go up to Memphis. It's a slower trip because we're going upriver and we have to give right away to the vessels that go downriver. So we're going a little bit slower. We're enjoying the scenery. There's a couple of days when we actually leave port, maybe at one day at 1 o'clock and one day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon instead of staying full day, just to make up the time that we lose by going slower. You would get your hotel in New Orleans if you go in this direction. If you go from Memphis to New Orleans, you get one extra stop, and that's in Baton Rouge. So you start in New Orleans, you get your hotel night. We have two hotel options. We have the Hilton, which is right on the riverbank. It's part of a mall. There's restaurants, there are shops, and you virtually just walk on the boat from the hotel. No need for a transfer, very easy. Right across the street is a casino for those who want to try their luck. And we also have a hotel in the French Quarters, which is closer to more of the historical sightseeing available in the city. Our very first stop, and it's an exclusive stop, is the Nottoway Plantation House. It's the South's largest remaining antebellum mansion. Now, antebellum means that it was pre-Civil War. So it was built in the around 1850. And this is an exclusive stop, and the boat is docked right in front of the mansion. So all you need to do is virtually cross the lawn and you're there. The tour of the mansion will take maybe 2.5 hours. The rest of the day you have at leisure. So what you can do, we have bicycles on board, for example, free of charge. You can just get the bicycle and you can tour the area on your own if you want to do something more active. Or we have some other options. You can go to the Oak Alley Plantation on a tour. Those trees are absolutely magnificent. Or you can do something fun like the Cajun Swamp Tour. Now the Cajun Swamp is like a 250-acre ecosphere. And you are on these boats built specifically for the swamp. And you get to see alligators and nutria and ibis and turtles and herons and raccoons. We even have baby alligators that we bring on board, so you can see them up close, and if you want to touch them or pet them, you can. And then, like I said, one of the stops, it's actually on the southbound itinerary, would be Baton Rouge, which is named after a red disc pole marking the two separate tribal hunting grounds back in the day. It's a capital city of Louisiana, and it has the tallest Capitol building. You get to tour the USS Kidd. You can tour the Capitol Park Museum. There's a museum of art, lots of galleries, lots of cool restaurants, plenty of things to do in Baton Rouge. Then we go to St. Francisville in Louisiana. Now, this is a community established in 1809, and it's the oldest town in the Florida parishes. There's a joke that the town is like 2 miles long, but only 2 yards wide. It really is a cute as a button little town, but it has 140 buildings on the National Register. Imagine that, 140 buildings. Almost every building in that place is on the National Registry and protected. It is a really nice place. It's calm, there's no traffic, it's easy to walk. So even though you can do the hop on, hop off excursion and go from one building to another, it's a really nice place to just go for a walk and enjoy. Now, another place we go to is Natchez. Now, this is much busier than something like St. Francisville. It's a charming town founded in the 1700s, early 1700s. It's oldest town in the Mississippi, and they are doing absolutely fabulous job in preservation of their history. So all of these, there's so many mansions that you can visit privately as well as stately owned that are just breathtaking, and it just gives you an insight of what life was like in the 17 and 1800s and how people lived. You should see those rooms. Those ceilings are like 30 feet tall. And it's all in a really good shape. The ladies that do the tours or the gentlemen are dressed in the historical costumes, and it just gives you the atmosphere of what it used to be like. Now, Natchez is a busy place. As you could see on the map that I showed you earlier, there's a lot of stops to do, but we also have a lot of optional excursions that you can do. You can do the story of cotton. We take you to the historic Fragmore plantation. You tour the plantation, you see how cotton was made, how it was picked. They still have the old slave houses available for tours, so you see the conditions and how they live. And it is an actual working plantation. So then you get to compare the way things were done in the olden days and how they run the plantation now. So that was a good tour. Another one that's good was the ATV adventure for the young and vivacious who want to have some fun in the outdoors. You can take a round of golf at Duncan Park. And this is my favorite. That's inside Regina's kitchen. It's celebrity chef Regina Charbonneau. She takes you to her home. She's got this amazing Twin Oak Alley plantation. And we made biscuits and pies and had very nice soup and bread, and spent the whole afternoon with her. She is super friendly. You're in her home, you know, you get to pet her dog if you want to. You sit her at her dining room table. She has a very nice backyard. It was definitely a highlight of Natchez for me. And you get a autographed and personalized cookbook on top of it. And the next spot we go to is Vicksburg, and this is for the Civil War buffs. We go to the Civil War battlefields and the Vicksburg National Military Park and visit the USS Cairo. This is about 4 or 5 hour excursion now. The whole time this is many acres that spans, and the memorials, this is one of the smallest one. Each state, imagine each state building a memorial to their fallen soldiers. And some of them are quite intricate and large. It's just amazing. You get off the motor coach maybe 4 or 5 times to take pictures, stretch your legs, but just to let you know, most of the day you're sitting on the bus just going through the fields. Now, the tour guides that come on board from the National Military Park, they've been doing it for 25, 30 years, and they know everything about everyone. And they tell you the personal stories, not about the military leaders, but also about the common soldiers. And it's, again, another very interesting place to visit. For those who don't want to learn about any wars and battles, they can catch another round at golf. And then we go to a place called, on the itinerary, if you see ports of Mississippi Delta, that usually means that we're stopping at one of these places: Greenville, Mississippi, Helena, or Tunica. And this is all very agricultural land, all about cotton picking to this day, tobacco, music. There's a B.B. King museum, a lot of history. And again, hop and hop off, hop on, hop off motor coach tour included in all of these stops you can do. You can try your hand at making, picking cotton and what it feels like, and how they process it, how they bale it. You get to guess at, you know, what the weight of the bale is and how long it takes to make the bale. It's an interesting place, something that you know, we definitely don't see around here, and it's something nice to visit. So this is Helena. So like I said, we go either to Greenville, Helena, or Tunica, and from there we visit the other places. And we end our cruise in Memphis, Tennessee. And I don't know if you've ever been to Memphis Airport. It's very small, so don't be rushing there more than whatever the 2 hours that you have to, because there's absolutely nothing to do at Memphis Airport. So you want to do something fun. We have a Elvis experience. We go to Graceland. This is Elvis's mansion. You have an all-day access to Graceland. You get to see his airplanes, and you get to see his cars, and it's pretty cool. Even if you're not an Elvis fan, it just, you know, the mansions, you know, it's not that big. You would think somebody like Elvis would have a humongous mansion, but the grounds, the stables, the bowling alley, like I said, the airplanes, all of that just adds to the grandeur of Memphis. So your next option is the upper Mississippi, and that's completely different than what you see down, you know, in the lower Mississippi. Lower Mississippi, it's all Brown River and the plantation houses and the cotton fields. Upper Mississippi is way more picturesque. There's like 3 national parks along the river, and you get to see a lot of nature, the deer, the eagle. It's more green. It's a combination of bigger cities and small places, and we sail between Memphis and Red Wing, Minneapolis, or you can start a shorter voyage in St. Louis. And again, in either direction, depends where you want to do your hotel night. So one of the places we stop in is New Madrid in Missouri, and it's a place where the Battle of Island Number 10 took place. And it also had a series of earthquakes between 1811 and 1812. So again, a lot of museums, a lot of places of what it used to be like, what it was before the earthquake, what it was after the earthquake, all of that history shared with you. Then we go to St. Louis, Missouri, which is known as the Gateway City, with its 630-foot tall arch, which symbolizes kind of the westward expansion of the states. And then we go to Alton, Illinois, which is known as the place of the final debate between Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas. And around this area, this is where they have these amazing limestone bluffs along the river. So the scenery is absolutely breathtaking. And then we go to Hannibal, Missouri. And if you are a fan of a gentleman called Samuel Clemens, better known as Mark Twain, this is where he was born, and this is where pretty much every single character in his book is based on a real person that lived in Hannibal or surrounding area. So we visit his boyhood home, the museum, and it's a really nice, quaint place to walk about. Dubuque is a touristy place in Iowa. It's very popular for families and family vacations. It's very quaint, easy to walk about. It's got a grand opera house. It has a scenic railway that we get to tour. And again, of course, with the scenic railway, there's a museum, there's art museums, a lot of shops and boutiques. Very nice picturesque place to visit. And we also go to LeClaire, Iowa. Now, I didn't know what LeClaire, Iowa was, honestly. But if you're a fan of the History Channel American Pickers, that show, this is where they're based, in LeClaire, Iowa. So they have their shops there, and this is where all the action is, and this is what brought them to fame. And we finish in Red Wing, which is just outside of Minneapolis. Now, Minneapolis, if you start in Minneapolis, you stay at the Westin in downtown, and then you get a transfer to Red Wing. Definitely worth visit. If you want to add a hotel night at the end of the cruise in Minneapolis, it is definitely a city worth visiting. It's on the National Geographic Travelers list of the most historic places in the world. So lots of things to see. Alternatively, you can go to Wabasha, which is the oldest city in Upper Mississippi, easy accessible from Minneapolis, and visit the National Eagle Center and see these magnificent creatures up close and personal. And then we have the tributaries, and that's a lot of itineraries that you can do, and I don't think we have time to go through all of the stops today. But pretty much, if you want to go from Memphis to Louisville, Memphis to Clarksville, Louisville, Clarksville, or Louisville, Pittsburgh, these itineraries will take you there. And just if we have any fans of the Kentucky Derby, for example, this is where you would be going. We also have a lot of music theme departures. And of course, Nashville is right here. Clarksville is actually the port for Nashville. So a lot of these places, if you sail between Memphis, Louisville, or Louisville, Clarksville, this is where you hit Nashville and the whole music scene of North America. And just like a reminder, Kentucky Derby. So let's say on April 16th, 2021, we have a voyage that is a Kentucky Derby themed cruise. It will take you to all the stables. You get to see the horses. You get behind the scene access. You get tickets to the races, a very exciting departure. And then just a reminder, Nashville, Tennessee as well, a lot of music themed cruises. We have probably 50 music themed cruises every year. And we have 3 paddle wheelers that will take you to these wonderful destinations in the America's heartland. So American Queen is our oldest one. She's celebrating 25 years in this year. She carries 417 guests, and she is the very last steam-powered paddle wheeler in the world. And so she's she's our flagship, and she is quite the icon on the Mississippi River. Very nostalgic type of an atmosphere on board. Because she's steam powered, she also has a steam calliope. Now we play the calliope on every departure. So every night when we depart the port, the steam calliope gets played. And this is just to give you an idea of what the interior of the ship looks like. We have the GAMW, the white dining room. This is because we have 417 guests on board, we have to do an early and late dining and assigned seating. So each night of your cruise, you'll be at the same time and at the same table with your fellow guests, and of course the same waiter. We have a front porch cafe where you can do your breakfast and buffet style lunch, as well as evening alternative dining venue, indoor and outdoor, depending on the weather. This is the Grand Saloon. This has been modeled after the Ford Theater in Washington. And when you see the boxes on the side, on both left and right hand side, this is for the suite accommodation guests. So this is their reserved seating for when they come and watch the show in the evening. A picture of the grand staircase. We have a Mark Twain gallery, lots of places to sit and enjoy a book or play cards, Scrabble. We have the ladies' parlor, of course, not for ladies only, but it is furnished in the style of a ladies' parlor, and the gentleman's card room. And the Emporium is a onboard shop where you can get local items as well as sundries. If you run out of with a toothpaste or anything, we have it stocked. This is what, if you're looking at a deck plan and you see a stateroom and it tells you that it has an open veranda, this is what it looks like. So the door into your stateroom is actually from this veranda. The chairs are for you to use if you want to just sit there, read your book, and watch the river flow by. It's possible, but you need to be aware that this is a public area and other people will be using the area. They'll be walking by as you sit there. Because it's a steam powered engine, the pistons need to be oiled every 20 minutes. So there's an engineer on hand there oiling away all day, all night. And we have a viewing platform, so you can actually go down there and watch him do it and ask questions about the engines, about the paddle wheel. We also do pilot house tours instead of the engine room tours like you have on the big ships or the bridge tours. We have the pilot house, and it's usually the captain or one of his officers, and they get to answer any questions you may have about how the vessel is being operated, about the river, about the traffic, how everything works. This is a sample of our accommodation. This is an owner suite with a private veranda. If you have 3 guests traveling together, this is a good accommodation to have because it takes triple occupancy, 348 square feet. This is what the private veranda looks like. So you don't have anybody walking by you if you have a private veranda. This is a luxury suite with an open or private veranda. So depending on where you are on the ship, some of them have a private veranda, some of them have the open one. And this is a category A private veranda, 190 square feet. This is probably one of the most common accommodation types on the vessel. So we have the most selection, most numbers, and in just about every location you want to be. And this is your basic outside stateroom based on double occupancy, 190 to 200 square feet. This is an inside stateroom. On this vessel, we even have an inside stateroom. It's fairly spacious, 132 to 140. It can be used as a single occupancy stateroom. So there's no single supplement if you're traveling by yourself. And the second vessel that we have on the Mississippi and the tributaries is the American Duchess. She's our smallest vessel. She carries only 166 guests. And while she looks fairly traditional on the outside, as you can see, a nicely paddle wheel, she is not traditional on the inside at all. She's more like a boutique, modern style hotel. This is what the grand lobby and the bar looks like. This is a view from above. Again, the same area, very spacious ship. This is our Lincoln Library, the show lounge, and the dining room. Because we only have 166 guests on this vessel, we can accommodate everybody at the same time. So between 5:30 and 8 o'clock, you can just walk in, take any table, any seat, and enjoy a beautiful 5-course dinner. This is our alternative dining venue. This is where if you don't want to sit in at breakfast or lunch in the dining room and wait on your order from the a la carte menu, you can come here to the club and terrace and have a buffet style breakfast or lunch. And we also have an outside seating. And as you can see, if you sit outside, you can actually watch the paddle wheel in action. This is just a landing, like a staircase landing on one of the decks. As you can see, lots of space. This is, I think, probably my favorite ship just because it has so much personal space. You will not feel crowded, and it launched in 2017, so still fairly new vessel and very, very comfortable. This is a picture of the sun deck. This is the only deck, if you need elevator, this is the only deck that doesn't have an elevator. All the other ships, all the decks can be accessed with elevator. We can definitely cater to any guests that have mobility issues, walkers, wheelchairs. These vessels don't have any steep embarkation ladders. We just, you know, plop down the platform at the front of the ship and off you go. We have golf carts that will take you from the ship to the motor coach, even if you need assistance. So this is the only place that someone who has a mobility issue cannot reach, is the sun deck. All the other places on all of the other ships can be accessible. Lots of these little nooks and crannies, outdoor deck places where you can just grab a rocking chair and watch the river flow by. Sample accommodation, this is our owner suite that will accommodate 4 guests in 550 square feet. This is the living room and this is what the bedroom looks like. We also have the loft suites. These are 2-story with 2 bathrooms, accommodate 4 guests. So if you have a family traveling together, or if you have 4 ladies going away on a girls trip, or any other combination of guests, 4 of them can be accommodated with 2 full bathrooms. This is the living room area of the loft suite. This is our deluxe suite. Again, accommodates 4 guests if you need, in 450 square feet. And this is, if you are in a suite, this is what the bathroom looks like. And this is what the standard bathroom. So if you're in a suite, you have the marble. If you're in a regular stateroom, you have this. I think it's a lot of space to store any of your toiletries, lots of room, spacious shower, no bathtub available. And this is your typical veranda stateroom, 240 square feet, lots of storage room for your clothing and for anything you buy along the way, any souvenirs as well, quite spacious. And this is our smallest accommodation, 180 to 200 square feet, inside stateroom, and again, it can be booked on double or single occupancy options. And the last, our baby in the fleet, launching in 2020, she was just finished, she was supposed to sail as of April, is the American Countess. She carries 245 guests. Again, on the outside, she looks like the traditional paddle wheeler. On the inside, she's quite modern, just like the Duchess. And this is the theater. It's got these cool swivel chairs so everybody can see and swivel around and see the stage, the library, and the dining room. Now, because she carries 245 guests, she does have two dining times, 5:30 and 7:45. The earlier you book, the better you have a chance of selecting the dining time. Obviously, the early times actually go much faster than the later times. So you need to book early, or you need to book the suite accommodation, because then you get your preferred dining time automatically. And this is a sample of the deluxe outside stateroom, 255 square feet, and then additional 40 square feet private veranda. And then we have the semi-private veranda. It's also accessible. So this one has handlebars in the bathroom if you need for a wheelchair guest. And this is the smallest accommodation, 170 square feet inside stateroom. And we have, for guests who are used to from ocean vessels to like elevated services, we have 2 options. We have the Commodore and the Butler service. The Commodore service, that is little extras like a bottle of wine in your stateroom, or fruit basket that gets replenished every single day. You get preferred seating in the dining room, you get preferred seating in the lounge. The Butler services, it's more items like packing and unpacking of your luggage, shoe shining, clothes pressing. If you want to have your canapé served before dinner in your suite, your butler takes care of that. If you want your breakfast served on your private veranda, your butler takes care of that. We have sometimes single ladies traveling either together or on their own, and they enjoy being escorted to the dining room at dinner time by their butler, or escorted to the lounge for the evening show. All of that can be arranged with your butler on board. The only, on top of the additional shore excursions or the drinks package, You can also add additional hotel nights in either at the beginning or end of your cruise, or you can do a city stay package in pretty much every destination we have. You can do a 2-night hotel stay, it includes transfers, meals, as well as exclusive city tours and activities, and a shipboard credit when you get on board of the vessel. So we're fairly flexible. We will definitely work with your travel advisor, with Leah, on anything you want to book before or after your cruise, and we would love to see you on board. And I thank you so much for all your time. And if anybody has any questions, if there's something that I haven't covered or something I talked about and you have more questions about, let me know.
That's great, Olga. Thank you. I'm just wondering, right now, is the American Queen Steamboat Company offering any promos for booking?
Yes. So absolutely. Obviously, we want to encourage guests to come back on the ships and sail. We are starting on the Mississippi on July the 20th. And sorry, we are starting on Mississippi, yes, on July the 20th, and the Columbia and Snake River as well, July 20th. So we're actually starting sailing just before the Canadian borders will open, because technically if we are starting on the 20th, you have to arrive on the 19th to enjoy your hotel night prior to the cruise. So you will very likely miss the first departure, but after that, we have a full season of sailing on all of the rivers. And of course, the savings available for 2020 departures. We're giving away the complimentary drinks package on any of the 2020 departures. And in 2021, we have good savings up to $3,000 per stateroom for anyone who books by August 31st.
Okay.
So there's, a lot of options possible, whether you want to sail soon or next year. We do have the savings available.
All right, that's great. I just love the fact that you guys include the pre-hotel.
Yes. Absolutely.
In the price, that's great. And the fact that I don't think there's any other cruise ship out there that has rocking chairs. That is so neat. I love that. Yes. Sitting out there rocking, on the deck.
I know. I did that in November, and I was just reading away, and suddenly the afternoon was gone. It was
yeah. Wow.
Quite enjoyable.
Complimentary Wi-Fi, most ships you have to pay for that. So that's another added bonus that you guys offer.
Absolutely. And not only on the ship, but on the motor coach as well.
Oh, that's great.
So you can post your pictures right away. You don't even have to wait.
Yeah, the whole trip. You can be sharing it with everyone at home. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And is every meal 5-course?
Well,
that's the dinners.
Dinner times usually, 4 or 5. I mean, obviously you can skip, but it is just like on the ocean cruises. Where you have all these options, and salad and soup and appetizer and a main course and a dessert. You can just keep going.
And do you find?
Definitely the service and the quality of the meals is quite good.
Okay, and you did mention that on the Pacific side, on the Columbia River, you're going to get more seafood, fish, kind of
yes,
food.
More seafood options. Now, again, it's just an option on top of.
Okay.
If you don't care for seafood, you can still have your steak or lamb or pork chop or whatever it is that you want to have. But there's more mussels and shrimp and salmon. But, salmon is fairly common actually on all of the itineraries, but you will have the wild Pacific salmon, let's say, on the West Coast.
Did you find on the Mississippi, on those cruises, that it was more Southern cooking?
Again, yes, definitely Creole and Cajun style options available. And it's, personally, I've never had grits in my life, and and I will probably never have grits in my life again, but it's good that you can try it.
That's funny. I love grits. So I think I'll just book the cruise just so I can eat grits.
Yeah. You can have grits all day long, honestly. Every meal.
And probably many different ways too.
I was obsessed with their soups. Their soups were phenomenal. I had to have a soup with every meal. I almost wanted soup at breakfast. They were so good.
Oh, I love soup too. And that Regina's Kitchen, that would be a really neat experience as well. If you're into food and
Yes,
love trying different foods and also experiencing it
she has
locally
had
in her home, that's neat.
yes, and she has restaurants all over the United States. So she is well known. Some of the other ocean cruise lines actually use Regina to create menus for their alternative dining venues.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was really cool to meet her in person, and she's just a Southern sweetheart. She comes from Natchez. She's always lived, I mean, she was in Paris and she was in LA and she lived in Alaska, but she always comes home to Natchez, and it's just a really nice place.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, I think we got to do a group. I'm
Yes.
gonna have to put together
I'll
something.
come with you.
Okay, that sounds great. All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. That was very interesting, and just to see the options that are available for cruising the rivers in the United States.
And you know what? It is very close to home. I don't know how long the flight would be for you guys coming maybe from Alberta, but it virtually was 2.5 hours from Toronto.
Yeah, nice and close.
It's so easy to just hop on the plane. You don't arrive jet lagged, and you have the hotel to, you know, enjoy the night scene or the sightseeing, and then the next day you're freshly, tired, and you just walk on the ship and you start your vacation, and it's really good.
You'd probably even feel like city sightseeing once you arrive in your destination and not have to hit the sack right away because of jet lag.
You don't have to crawl in bed. Yes.
Right. Yep. Well, that was very good. Thank you so much, Olga, for that, and for everyone else for joining us, whether you are here now live or watching later. If you have any questions that come to mind later on, feel free to shoot me a message or an email. I'd be happy to answer them for you. And if I can't, Olga's there for us. So
yes, absolutely. Anytime. Thank you so much for your time, you guys. And thank you for having me, and good night.
Yeah, take care. We'll talk to everyone next week. We have one more travel show happening before summer hits us smack in the face. So stay tuned. I will be sending you all an email later on the weekend. So take care. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.